If you want to say that, that's totally your prerogative, but that's not what the numbers say. So you can say, no, it's my turn to speak. You can say what you want about all the different statistics and how they come from a specific study, but the point is that there are different estimates, and basically every study conducted globally has found that the number of female victims is astronomically higher than male victims. Not to say male victims aren't important. If you are a male victim, especially if you haven't spoken up, I have seen the effects of having male sexual assault in my family, so please talk to somebody. It is serious. But 1 in 6 boys have been sexually assaulted, and a lot of the time it is by male offenders.
Yeah,
so it is
but
serious.
what about the fact that when we're talking about outrages of abuse of children, women are the ones who are most often in charge of children. The domestic rates, for instance, inside of a boys' home where the prison guards are all male, and it's a male, youth population versus female. If there's a females in charge of the youth population, the statistics for abuse skyrocket. Same thing inside of public schools.
Are you saying that women are more likely to be
women are more likely than men when it comes to the weaker sex. In this case, children, we would just say children are both sexes, right? But they're the weaker human than women. When they're in charge of children, they actually abuse them far more than what men abuse women at. And so it's like, so who's really the dangerous ones here?
I mean, your 60 seconds begins. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I would like to say that is a claim that is a reasonable conclusion that you are drawing from the data that you are presenting. Unfortunately, that is not true, though, that the vast majority of sex offenders are male, and especially when, there are still female offenders, and that is still bad. But the point is that there is significant male dominance, and that most sex offenders are male, and females do commit sex crimes, but they're often underrepresented as perpetrators. So you're correct. But
hold on. Data you're reporting, is it?
Do you want to continue?
Yes, please. And so
I'll give you your 60.
This is from the United States Commission Sentencing, which is just about sexual abuse offenders. And there's a whole pie chart here, about how many times they offend and who they offend and who they're under guidance for. And again, it is saying that the vast majority, up to 80% of the perpetrators are men.
Yeah,
yeah, you can talk now.
So women, do you agree with me that, I have to ask some questions here so I can figure some things out. I hope that you'll answer them. So do you agree with me that both men and women have the propensity to, in some way, essay the other partner, both of them?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that no, yes, I agree. It is definitely possible for both sexes to do that.
The question becomes, if you switch criteria around, right, for what is considered sexual assault, let's just assume things like catcalling are put in the category.
That's harassment, but are you saying hypothetically?
But let's say it's categorized, not as harassment, but as a form of sexual abuse. Would you say that would greatly skew the numbers?
If that were how it was classified, yes. Do you have evidence that is how it is classified?
I do. In fact, there's a whole grouping of colleges in a study that I can show you where that was smuggled in as a form of sexual assault, or SA, or sexual battery in some cases, right? They smuggle in, and so what they do is they decide that they want to make that data set wider. And so they just reclassify things which would not ordinarily be classified as sexual assault or sexual battery by just inserting those things. Now, the same exact thing happens here. Do you think that it's very masculine, for instance, inside of society, for men to go and report when a woman gives them unwanted touching?
No. And matter of fact, I do know male victims with female perpetrators.
And they have unwanted touching?
Yes.
So they're just far more likely to report it because of the social stigma, which happens to them often from women who tell them things like, I don't consider you a real man like you did to me earlier?
Oh, I didn't really say that, but...
You did. Your exact words were, a real man would X.
Oh, yeah, like real men like my dad who have the same political beliefs but don't talk to women the way you do.
Yeah, whatever that means. But anyway, so a real man does X, right? Wouldn't you say that the social stigma around the fact that women can kind of get away with the same type of inappropriate touching without men reporting would greatly skew these numbers?
Yes, however, I think that women and men who are victims and are perpetrators as well, I think those are both underreported. I think across the board it's underreported, but more for male victims with female perpetrators.
Well, how many more for male victims?
I don't know.
But it could be drastic, right?
And I would hope not.
And if it is drastic, then it would skew your numbers on all of those percentages across the board.
Oh, absolutely it would. But the problem is we have no way of gathering that data. And with the data we do have, though, I see what you're saying about the stigma, but it is so vastly that women are victims and men are the perpetrators that I don't see that catching up in any percentage.
Why not? It depends on how underreported it is. is. In fact,
That's
a lot of
close.
these data sets draw from unreported incidences via estimates, don't they?
Unreported incidences via estimates.
Yes. So
I suppose, yeah. There's
yeah.
no way that they can actually gather that data. Yeah.
Yeah. So this would be the exact same thing, right? They're making a supposition based on an estimate. This would equally have to apply to men. But if the social stigma is there by your own admission that men are basically not reporting the instances of unwanted touching from women due to this social stigma, we don't actually know how bad that social stigma really is, do we?
No, and I mean, that's also what feminists, that's a great point, and I agree with you, because feminists, that is one of, it's also my 60 seconds, right?
Well, we're having a back and forth now, so.
Oh, okay. Well,
If
can
you
I have
got-
60 seconds? Because I would just like to talk a little bit about like
Well,
stigma.
you can't we can't get into a back and forth and then like arbitrarily demand whole blocks.
Okay,
of
well,
time, right?
I'm just going to give some statistics because I think we're on the same page here. I think we've actually found common ground. So the stigma around SA and abuse is what allows these numbers to be underreported. And so I think that because that's what feminists want, is we want men to be comfortable coming forward as well, because we want safety and equality for the sexes. That is what the definition of the term is the belief in social, economic, and political equality of
Well,
the
let me
sexes.
refute these lies because
Well, I think that some people don't believe that. who
all
are feminists,
all
but-
national campaigns that I've seen hyper focus on women and the abuse of women, already making the supposition that men are the monsters and the criminals who are doing the unwanted touching and the essaying. And because of that, because this is done at a national level, at a state level, at a local level, and the organizations and NGOs are all hyper focusing on women, this stigma towards men is never addressed because women are only looking at it through the prism of
Well, I
women.
don't. You know, it's not just women who are working on these studies, right, and who are writing these articles.
It
It's
doesn't
also
matter.
men.
Don't you say men can be feminists?
Yeah.
Okay,
but-
so by your criteria, these men who have the same exact worldview as you, they're still hyper-focusing on feminism. And the idea always starts with the supposition that men are the more violent sex, that they are more often doing these types of SA, sexual assaults, things like this. And what do we end up with? We end up with very skewed numbers based on the criteria, right, where within just a matter of minutes, we can determine that not only can most of this stuff be replicated, but we can also determine that just based on the viewed categorization of these things, they can't be true. These numbers can't be true.
Okay, now, so I don't understand where you're coming from with how it can't be true, how something can't be true, because again, if you're going off of something being underreported and the data not being there, you're saying, okay, well then this is true, which means this can't be true, which means this, and you're not even going from like actual data that
Do you
we
want me
have.
to demonstrate it?
No, I'm okay. I'm talking for now, please.
Well, I'll
But-
demonstrate it real quick. So it would be like this.
No, I'm actually okay.
Are there-
I feel like you've dominated the conversation for the last few minutes. If that's okay, if I would like to.
Well, I
take
thought
some
you just
data.
wanted me to demonstrate for you something.
No, I'm actually okay on that. Thank you.
You don't want me to? You asked me a
No.
question, you don't want me to answer it?
No. I was actually in the middle of talking.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Thank you.
You're
So-
welcome.
Thank you. No, like that was genuine. I wasn't trying to be.
I know, you're welcome.
Thanks. Yeah. So.
The patriarchy's benevolent.
Yes. So I think that the four principles that is a common misconception, and if you want to refute these, like I would love that. But working to increase equality economically and politically for women, which again not rooted in female supremacy, but some people think it is. Expanding human choice meaning male, female, everyone. Eliminating gender stratification, which means globally it's
Hang on, can
typically
we move back to 2?
yes, expanding human choice. And for everybody. And then 3, eliminating gender stratification. How like most of the power and money is concentrated to men globally. So sort of making the opportunities there for women. And again, like you have to think about this globally as well. Like we're very US centric, I think, in this debate, but there are definitely countries where women are really, really deprived of any sort of autonomy. And then the final one is ending sexual violence, which we've talked about quite a lot. So those are the 4 principles of feminism as we see it today. And although there are different places around the world, I guess we can focus sort of here and globally if you have points on that. Or if you just want to confine it to the US, then let me know. But-
Yeah, well, the U.S. is where I live. That's what I'm talking about. But
Okay.
So when we're discussing this idea, especially of no, these numbers are accurate, that actually can't be true. You said no, it actually can be. Well, no, it can't be because one, you've already admitted that there's a stigma towards reporting, which means that these numbers are already skewed right from the get-go. Here's a good demonstration of this. This is something you'll hear psychologists say a lot, and I'm sure you probably said it yourself, that mental illness probably has always been somewhat near as high as it is right now. It's just that it went underreported, right? That's something that you would say. Or there's just as many transgender people now as there were, or homosexuals. It's just that we didn't have the right numbers because they weren't able to report them correctly, right? So it follows then that if it is the case that under all of these circumstances, due to a lack of reporting due to stigma, we didn't have the correct numbers, and so you can suppose that into the data that you have right now for how many there's always been.
Right.
Why couldn't I do the exact same thing with SA numbers?
No, you can, but how are you going to get the how are you going to get the figure that it is more? Are you saying it's more female perpetrators than male perpetrators?
If I look
how
at,
could you possibly get that
because
number?
if I look at the raw data and we look at stigmas, right? If we're looking,
we agree on stigma, but the data, how do you have that?
Because the data is not taking into account the stigma towards male reporting.
But it is. But I'm saying there are no
But it's
reported
not.
cases.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
no,
can't.
It's not.
How do you,
You're right.
how do you
You're right.
report the cases if the stigma is there for them to not report?
So yes, given that, how do we come up with any? Because
Well,
these
how?
other places, they come up with estimates, these studies that you just cited. So how do we come up with an estimate for female
whether
perpetrators?
we come up with the estimate or not, we have good reason to doubt the various estimates by RAIN and these other sexual advocacy organizations, especially when I look at the NIS. Because when I look at the NIS, I get totally different numbers, and it's way more comprehensive. It's the largest, most comprehensive data set on planet Earth is the NIS, and that's what it shows. It shows that women are far more likely to abuse their children than men. When women are in positions of dominant power and authority over weaker people than themselves, they're more likely to abuse almost every time. This is also included in healthcare stats. When they are in charge of people who are weaker than them in healthcare situations, they abuse far more than men do.
You keep talking about the NIS, which specific, are you talking about the national, because the specific study that you're talking about, how women are perpetrators more frequently, genuinely cannot find it anywhere on the internet.
Okay, I'll pull up the exact study if you give me just a second.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Because I'm looking at the Bureau of Justice statistics and the FBI
So you can
and
find this from the U.S.
even the CDC
You can
talks
find
about
this
it.
from the U.S. Department of Justice. Sexual victimization in juvenile facilities reported by youth 2012.
Okay.
Okay?
And is this where you're saying that
These are all comprehensive.
Female-
These are all comprehensively included inside of the NIS. This is what I'm saying is that I have each individual study ready for you. You can look also, and we can move to this as well if you want to.
Wait, so is this the one where you're saying that female perpetrators are more frequent? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. That's from
From the
National
Inmate-
Incident Study.
Oh, National Incident Study.
Yes.
Okay.
The largest collection of all types of reported data related to abuse, maltreatment of children. 68% of the maltreated children were maltreated by a female, 48% maltreated by a male. In every circumstance, the NIS finds that when women are put in charge of people who are weaker than themselves are more likely to abuse than the stronger sex, that being men. And what's interesting about this is it gives us every reason to believe that if women had the exact same frame and build as men did, that men that they would actually abuse far more often than men do them, right? So what we're looking at here is we're looking at a huge problem where women who are supposedly being abused by men are doing a whole lot of abuse which is going unreported of children while you're focusing on the scapegoat of men.
Yeah, I don't doubt that women are, unfortunately, a lot of women are abusing children, but the study that you're saying, the only thing that I'm able to find is that 1 in every 25 children in the U.S. experience maltreatment. Neglect is more prevalent than abuse. And then they talk about how for the 4% of children that experience genuine maltreatment and in danger of death. But I'm not seeing anything. It says, girls were sexually abused much more often than boys under the harm standard and endangerment standard, with male perpetrators being more common. That's all I was able to find.
Okay, would you like for me to actually link it to you? That was just from the juvenile facility study, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about the NIS data? The NIS data is going to be the most important because it's the most comprehensive collection of it.
It's funny because you keep repeating this talking point about a study that I can't find.
Well, how do you?
I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but
So you think that the National Incident Study is not reporting this? Like I could link, I can link it to you.
No, I believe it. I'm just saying, there are so many more common sources that have different numbers talking about how male perpetrators are more common than the study that you're talking about. Because I genuinely,
I got a little more for you. The U.S. Department.
Can you drop it to me?
Yeah, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has been tracking the data on child abuse and neglect since 1978 with something called the National Incident Study (NIS). The National Incident Study is a congressionally mandated periodic effort of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. There have been 4 such reports, the latest being the NIS-4, which came out 2010. This includes the breakdown. The NIS gathers data from all reporting agencies that and any study will pull from these agencies because it's the congressional authority which is gathering that data. The methodology, the NIS uses the standard definitional framework for classifying child maltreatment, including both types of abuse and neglect. These are the legitimate numbers, and feminists have been hiding them under a rock because they don't want to talk about this issue.
I think that is an interesting theory. I think that a lot of the things that you're talking about go more into theory than into fact. And that's okay. I think that goes into what I'm saying is like, just generally, that's why I'm here, is to debunk a lot of the myths.
Well, you can debunk that myth.
Well, again, you said you would send me the study. Cannot find the study that women are more likely to be perpetrators. It doesn't, I genuinely cannot find a single thing. I've been looking for 5-10 minutes.
You've been looking for what? Have you been looking on NIS?
I literally looked at exactly what you said, cannot find the numbers.
It's okay.
Now, because I'm not, this is not trying to be like an appeal to like authority, but I've done like debate my whole life. And like, obviously, like most of the time we tend to focus on the facts. So to me, if I can't understand the facts, that they don't exist of where I'm finding it, that is a problem for me. Okay, I saw that. It didn't say the numbers that you were talking about.
Yes, it has them. This is from,
Scroll
there's
down.
no way you
Scroll down
read.
so I can read it.
How in the world?
I was just on that website and it did not say that female perpetrators are more common.
Did you read that entire thing in 2 minutes? That is nonsense. It is huge.
My
There is
IQ
no
very
possible
high.
way you went through
I'm
those
a fast
numbers.
reader. I read like
That is the biggest.
300 books a
That
year.
is the biggest crock. There is no possible way you went through that in 2 minutes. It is massive.
Okay, you can think that. It's okay.
What do you mean think that? That is not humanly possible. Do you have magic powers
smart.
that I'm
I'm pretty
unaware
smart.
of?
I don't know.
Pretty smart? What? Oh, come on. At least be honest in the debate. I mean, you could just say I didn't read it. You say I couldn't find the numbers that you're citing. There's no possible
Because
way
they
you
don't
looked
exist.
at that.
The numbers that you're talking about, they
Don't exist.
Female perpetrators are not more common than male perpetrators. So, like, again, I would prefer that we would stick to actual reality and facts.
These are the actual realities and facts. I just showed you the study, right? The most likely reason why women are more likely to abuse than men, other
I
than
agree.
the fact they're not being used, checked on using force, is the UK's leading mental health charity. The Mental Health Foundation says that today, women are 3 times more likely than men to experience common mental health problems as well. Do you want to go over that?
About how men are more likely to experience mental health issues?
No, women are more likely to experience mental health issues.
What is your point? Yes.
Than men.
Well, what's your point? in
Well,
that?
how is feminism combating this?
I would hope that we can continue to do a better job. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know that really struggle with their mental health, and a lot of, I mean, we don't have to get too deep into it, but I know that a lot of women who have experienced some abuse sexually at the hands of a man, and then that led them to have mental health issues. I also know men.
More than
where
soldiers
that's
have
the case.
PTSD?
No. PTSD is certainly an issue, but you can get PTSD from a number of things. So I would like to point out that like just saying one thing doesn't negate the other, right? So like just because I think it's important to talk about women's mental health doesn't mean men's mental health isn't important, because again, they are more likely to like, unalive
And what about
themselves.
the fact that
That's very
women's mental health has been astronomically growing in the negative direction under feminism, especially under the egalitarianism of gender? They report the happiest levels that women report are when they're married and in traditional gender roles.
Have you ever heard of the term the phrase ignorance is bliss? I think
I'm sorry,
for a lot
I'm sorry, do I need to go and experience killing someone, right, to know that I don't want to experience killing someone?
What?
Well,
How does that have anything to do with
Well,
what I
ignorance
said?
is bliss. It's
No.
possible, for instance, that I could kill someone and really love it, right?
Would
That's
I be
possible.
able to maybe talk about it?
Well, hang on. I want you to answer my question. Is that possible?
I just don't really understand how
Can you
that's
answer
related.
my question, though? Is it possible that I could kill somebody and then just really like it?
But how does that in
Can
any
you answer
way...
my question, please? Stop negating the question. Just answer the question.
I just don't really want to talk about
I don't
murder
care
or-
what you want to talk. I want you to answer my question, and I'll answer
I'm not
yours.
answering your question. Just go to
You're
your
not
point.
going to answer my question?
About murder that's not related to this at all.
Yes, it's logically
Answer how you think I would answer.
logically
Answer how you want me to
analogous.
answer, and
What
then
do you
go ahead.
mean? I'm in a debate with you. I'm not in a debate with me.
I'm not why would I answer this hypothetical question about murder that has nothing to do with the... I was talking about...
Then
ignorance
if it has
bliss.
nothing to do with it, I'm going to look really stupid, right? So just answer the question.
So, go ahead and finish, because I would like to
So my
make a point.
question to you was, isn't it possible that I could kill someone and really like it? That would be yes or no. Waiting.
Yeah, I understand how this works, but...
I need you to answer my questions. We're in a debate. I will answer your questions, but you also need to answer mine, or I can't get to the worldview. Yes or no?
Okay. This seems like a really moot point to me, and
Can you just answer it then? You've wasted like 2 minutes not answering the question.
This is like a 3-hour debate.
Yeah, why are you wasting time? Just answer the question.
Look, Kylie, it's conceivable that you're going to propose hypothetical questions to Andrew to test
And I'll answer
his
them.
logic and worldview. He'll answer it. I think it's a fair
Okay.
question
Okay.
if you can answer it.
As the moderator, sure. I suppose it is possible, yes, that if
Okay.
you did it, then you would enjoy it, although it makes me uncomfortable to talk about that.
Okay, but
okay.
if this is the case, well, it would be possible for any human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's logically possible. So the thing is that knowing that this is true, that we could, I am actually ignorant, having never killed anybody, right? And I am in bliss about that. I myself am really, really happy that I've never done that, even though I could do that and could be very happy about that. The idea that you would make the point, ignorance is bliss, seems to entail...
Well, you didn't even let me get to
well,
talk.
Hang on. I just want
You're just talking
I'll give
over
you,
me.
I'll give you the quick answer.
I have to wait for
talk.
you to let me talk. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So what I would say is this. When you say ignorance is bliss, all you're doing is alluding to the fact that people should engage
I'm giving you
in
15
risky
seconds, and if
behavior
you don't
because
give
they
me the
may
mic,
apply
I'm
it.
leaving. Go ahead. 15.
Oh my God, you're gonna leave?
Yeah.
Oh no. Uh-oh.
Look, Andrew's finishing his point.
I was.
He was finishing his point.
No, I'm
and then-
serious.
No,
10,
but
15
hold on,
seconds.
hold on, but-
because he's been talking for the last 5 minutes. So it's really not
Well,
fair.
look.
You're not moderating very well here.
Well, to be fair, you guys got to allow...
We were actually doing really well, I think.
Hold on.
Until I was making a broader point, then that wasn't allowed.
Well, it was at the expense of me speaking
Hold
is
on.
the problem.
Hold on, just one moment. So, look, in conversations and especially in a debate, look, sometimes people are gonna butt in. There's been a few times you've done it.
Yeah.
Andrew's done it. You've both done it. I'm trying my best here.
Well,
Just
that's why I'm
allow-
alerting you. I feel like at this point
But-
I would like to be able to speak my point because he rebutted
guys
me
have-
before I was able to give my point, and that's been happening the last 5
You
minutes.
asked me a question. Have you heard the term ignorance
Yes,
is bliss?
so I could speak and explain my point.
Yeah, so then I said yes and said, but here's the
and then
problem
talk
with that.
for about 3-4 minutes and then try to back me into corner
give the,
over
give the
nonsense.
expression. When I ask you a question, you answer it. I expect a yes or no, and then you give a comprehensive answer like I was.
So can I give my explanation now?
Are you done, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. go
Okay.
ahead.
So you going back like 5 minutes basically.